So, like in Britain, we managed to top out at 2,000 kilometers a year in the late 1840s, but the Russians managed to reach 5,500 kilometers a year. So like, and that was and they. So the scale of railway construction was absolutely enormous, you know. Just,
Well,
just
and
like
also I'm sure this is a theme we'll return to in our discussion of Russia. But when you don't care how many people die, is easy.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, and yeah. So I was going to say that absolutely continued into the Soviet era, and
Soviet Railways stamp there.
Yeah, very nice little. I love a stamp. So there's some lovely
10 kopecks. Wow.
Oh, there's some lovely. Yugoslav. By the way, for folks who may not know, Yugoslavia not a Soviet state, not part of the USSR, its own thing, but they also still have excellent socialist vibe stamps, which is very nice. So they continued expanding, but not just expanding, but upgrading, but aided by a few people in the process. So yeah, let's not pretend that the railways in and across Russia and its adjacent states were not built under its workers under somewhat duress, I would describe.
Yeah.
So
well, the old gulag coats.
Yeah. Well, what are
that's called a Vatnik.
Really, the Vatnik. Okay,
it's
right.
It's like a kind of like padded sort of like, it's a very cheap coat made of like very cheap cloth, but it's like stuffed full of like yeah, I think they used to give them to soldiers as well.
It keeps keeps you alive long enough to do one or two things before you expire.
Exactly.
Yeah, like a single activity, single use human type arrangement. Yeah, horrifying. So yeah, there's for the real nerds. This is a graph of showing how much railways built. You can see there's a massive spread of like quite substantial amount of railway building throughout history. If you plot the kind of the GB map against this, or the GB plot against this, our numbers are smaller, and they remain at basically zero from like here this way. It's just zero. So anyway, right,
by the 1960s we were ripping all of ours out.
Yeah, but bye-bye to our railways. Yeah, exactly. So everyone hopefully is noticing the asterisk I'm using after all my present tenses, because again, we'll get to that. But so this is Milo, this is the last bit of me yakking before we open up and have chats and you give us the full vibe check, which is, and you might have thoughts on this, but why are Russia's railways so good? Why do they rank so highly in my system? Which, by the way, my system is mostly about like the percentage of people and things that move by rail versus by like air and road. That's kind of the general vibe. Russia's railways being so good. Well, the first is this one. Milo, you can probably attest to this, having travelled about the place. Russia is big. It's
pretty big.
It's a very large place. And I'm going to miniaturize our faces again. So yeah, like Russia's huge. It's twice the size of the US, but also has half the population. So the population density is really low, which means that railways, when they've got, railways are actually quite a good way of, well, basically the only effective way of connecting up these population centers, right?
The population density is an interesting one in Russia, because it's like, it's high where people live, and then it's low in most of it where no one lives. It's sort of this kind of strange, like if you're in like Western Russia, I feel like it has a similar population density probably to like a lot of Europe.
Yeah.
But if you're, like, and then once you get east of the Urals, it's like, there is no cunt here. Like,
that's it. There's nothing.
Yeah. Or like there'll be like a big city and then there'll be like a few towns around it.
Yeah.
Like Novosibirsk, you can see there down the bottom of the map, is like a pretty big city. And I'm sure there'll be like a decent bit of urban sprawl around it and some satellite towns and whatever. But then once you start pushing out from there, you're getting into like real fucking middle of nowhere.
Just absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and like up in the top right, like Yakutia and like those kind of places, it's like, it's basically like tundra, like permafrost. Like, it's very like, there are like some indigenous people who live there, and there are a couple of like smaller cities. But that's about it.
Like the areas of where there is permafrost, or like it's like basically like this, isn't it? It's like this is totally inhabitable, like uninhabitable space.